It's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There's a menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there? I suppose. Yes, I think so. Can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. I do apologize. However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details. However, I understand that no jury has been selected. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial from the professor 10 years ago. Closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows! Mr. Sholmes! Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. Oh yeah, good. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! What to one man is a little hair problem is to another a day of drinking dubious poison after dubious poison! Poison! Might as well have been poison. You have no idea how my stomach ails this morning! Again, it might as well be poison. Oh dear, how awful for you! I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And are you? I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow, compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases. The Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. What an honour, and that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes! After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind. My own! What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in? Oh. Gina. What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming students in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. It's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Although... Yes, Gina? Why'd you agree to this, eh? Why'd you take him on? This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina. I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care who calls him what. Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. Eh? At least there may be some solace to the deceased. Please, Otto. Get whoever did this! For the boss! Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do! So you've gotta find who did this and make the rich pay! Counsel for the defense and the defendant! Call will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please! Alright then, here we go. Oh my gosh. It's time, Mr. Nuttlehoodle. Lord Von Zeeks. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, caused to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, going to have to look at it straight in the eye. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant, Lord Baroque Von Zeeks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind this scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial, with no members of the public present. But Her Majesty's direct orders. How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench shall remain vacant today. If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord? They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. Members of the judiciary. Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already. There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain. Interesting words. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain this is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Cosimo? Very well. Let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Sogi, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on 1st November just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson. A name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest case 10 years ago. The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshots and have all reported the same time. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How has the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. See, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, my lord. Not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama. I'm not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There was a candelabrum mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. There is precious little furniture inside, and is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. So, Von Zeus made the same mistake as us. The details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. A name, please, counsel. Naturally, the accused himself. Lord Von Zeeks? As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well, let the defendant take the witness stand. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Baroque von Zeeks, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord von Zeeks, that you heard Prosecutor Sogi's opening proceed. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by our arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. Then I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord von Zeeks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony then, witness. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside, and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked up the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. Testimony was the whole truth. It was. So, you heard a gunshot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right. You haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Sogi. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word. It's laughable. It's gotten into Cosmo. He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Oh my... Oh, the portraits! Interesting. Once over. I heard the gunshot. Did someone leave? I mean, if there were witnesses, I guess. Picked the firearm for some reason. The door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body appeared. Okay, that's weird. And let's go through the new evidence. Interesting. So was the light not on at the time, maybe? Ah, the autopsy report. No time of death. Very interesting. Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. You didn't retrieve a bullet? Additional observations, the caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue. Interesting. Firearms for members of the judiciary. Not looking good for our client. Yep. Okay. I think that's all the new evidence we've got. Okay, I suppose we'll just get to pressing.
Hold it!
You were investigating the inspector. Wonderful. I'm not at liberty to say. Sorry? I'd identify a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No. I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. Oh, Snoopy. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offence. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord von Zeeks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim. And yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realise British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Oh, why did I ever think I could defend this man? When I first entered the room, I saw no one. Okay, we definitely need to press this. Have you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But at 5 p.m, the sun would only just gone down. It would still have been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. What, Mr. Naruhodo? There is a small desk in the room just here. I remember. There was an oil lamp on it, as well as the framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. What did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor.
Hold it!
So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there. Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is, I didn't sense another's presence. Then it could be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room. No, that's out of the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. This is going from bad to worse. Would you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor? Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Presumably then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that. Ugh. Just as I picked up the firearm, foolishly, you heard a man scream. A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them have set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. You're supposed to be the Reaper. The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion. I was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson. What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? Honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere. I have no idea.
Objection.
Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Baroque von Zeeks, is lying on multiple fronts. What's that supposed to mean? Gracious counsel! The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible! As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it's been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullets is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all 3 candles together. Which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. It must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. Ah. That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other 2 candles would still have been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. It's the truth! In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right. We saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases. The oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. There is a common thread linking all the documents on that board. Indeed. What is this common thread, Counsel? They all relate to the cases prosecuted in court by Baroque von Zieks. All of them! And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good Lord! Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today. Because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. He's very adamant about this, isn't he? In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. I don't think this is definitive, my guy. The Reaper's hideout. And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout. No one would believe that. No. The truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, Counsel! Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine. By the Reaper's hand! What? No. Order! Very well. I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Baroque von Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. I don't know about the second one, the thing about the Reaper's hideout. All I've done is state the truth as I know it. Cosmo's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case. It's formidable. He's good at bluffing, alright. Counsel, you will submit the board you had just shown to the court as evidence. I believe it would be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. And now, the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. The street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Yeah, they heard it, not seen it. Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Names? You don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us. We're just free and easy. So what we like. Live where we want to live.
I give them all a vacant stare as they walk down Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street?
Everyone calls me gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers-by, you know.
Jaunty little tidbits.
Gone absolute smasher for you, sir. Right, when you getting all of these? 6 pence is the price and not a penny less.
You're actually trying to sell it to me now!
Come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested.
Try the man.
Give the man money and see what it is.
Why me? Pay the man, counsel. What is this?
Right, 6 pence it is. You won't regret it, sir. Now, got the listening ears on? Just between us, a young couple on Slate Street had just had twins.
Is that it?
No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread. That's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know, on another juicy one. 6 pence a piece is, if you're curious.
I am curious, yes. About what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar. What about the next witness then? What name do you go by and what do you sell?
Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit? I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids. 6 pence a pop. What you say?
You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell?
Oh yeah, the second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that they get 100 and they could blow up the school. If they get 100, they could blow up the school.
Not the most savoury of ideas, young lady.
What you say then, eh? 1 pop with 6 pence for a pop.
Wait, what? You want me to buy one?
Tell you what, I can let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you can blow up the whole courtroom.
Try the woman.
Give her money and see if she's paying.
Pay the woman, counsel. Right, buy one. What is this?
Lovely stuff. Right then, this is a little bit extra just for you. The Venus Special. Only 600 pence.
600?
It's 100 on my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there?
There'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey either. It's evidence. And the last witness. What name do you go by and what do you sell? Wait, hold on. Do we have anything new? No, we'll go over it, but yeah, just making sure. I'm a thinker, me. Think of all sorts of thoughts. I think, if I am Therefore I think, because I stand there on the street, watching the world go around me, they call me the observator.
Get out of there, old man. Everyone can call you a sandwich and you know it.
So, you don't actually sell anything? Problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do. Think what it means. I don't actually sell anything, no, come to think of it. Pity. No more purchases today. Please. I'm broke. You have quite a cast here, it seems. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see. And thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose. Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witnessed the crime.
I'll be begging, I thought, just between us.
Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw!
What I think is, if all what we see is light and shadow playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these three witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went into the building.
It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang.
Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened.
I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
I was scared half to death, me, so I ran off to find a copper.
If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see go inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Baroque von Zeeks.
I've seen pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what it looks like. And just between us, takes a lot of stories like this. I've made myself a tiny song already.
But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied.
God, they are. They're small, damn dirty and expensive to be.
The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone. The testimony the court had just heard now would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime. Oh, thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses. Yes, my lord. In a close court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony. Somehow. Alright, before we can do the once-over, we'll go through the new evidence. So, what's this board about? There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper's from 10 years ago is browning with age. Look, aren't they all browning? Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. It's the same red-headed league advertisement that Mr. Sharms had picked out. Do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene too. What does that have to do with the Reaper? Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the red-headed league then? That might explain the wig. What is this curious thing? What's this? It's another Huddle, look! It's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. The colour. That's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. Could it be from the crime, perhaps? Blood. And this impulse purchase, or peer pressure purchase. Have you had an idea, Mr. Nuddlehuddle? You're staring at the end of the string of fireworks. Sorry, it's the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Nuddlehuddle. It sounded almost exactly like a gunshot, perhaps? Maybe this is what they heard. We can't prove it, or maybe. You did not! They. It's less than a minute. Oh, shoot. If I can't find any holes in this testimony, I'm afraid the judge will give a ruling of guilty, Mr. Nuddlehuddle. Truth is, though, the combined testimony is fairly damning. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any obvious problems with their statements, do there? Still, if Lord Von Zieks really is innocent, and I'm almost certain, we'll find something in there that doesn't quite add up. You don't think that one of these three could be the true culprit, do you? I don't know. But what I do know is that there's more to this case than has yet been brought to light. Alright, we're pressing. When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Von Zieks.
I suppose so. The likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. Well, I tell you one thing, it was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain.
Just behind Inspector Gregson. Did they arrive at the same time as each other?
Oh no, not at all. The first fellow must have gone a good 15 minutes before we heard that gunshot.
The victim arrived 15 minutes before. Are you sure about that?
Sure, I'm sure. Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fellow with briar red hair like that, does it? Yeah, his hair really was red, wasn't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks even.
Fiery red whoop still burns on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Wait a minute! You're saying the man was a redhead?
Weren't you listening, son? Aye, he was a redhead, and he had a big trunk with him as well.
But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red, by any stretch of the imagination. Seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct.
What?
Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, alright. And a red hairpiece.
Ah!
Of course, we saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we?
I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that? The colour does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel. And what became of the trunk that the redhead victim was supposedly carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. So it just disappeared.
Oh, what you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you?
Definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that. It was less than a minute.
Hold it!
By which presumably you mean the gunshot.
I sell these things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit like this, doesn't it?
Yeah. You say you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building.
That's right. It was almost straight away. Bang it went. Just like that.
Oh, he's the Reaper, isn't he? That's what the French call fait complete. When the Reaper's around, people are going to the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it?
I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime. Yes. It's certainly an eminently credible motive. Great. And at that point, you ran inside. Is that correct? Seems to me.
Hold it!
So when Gossip ran to see what happened, did you go too? I'm very hampered, see. All the signs of that I can't move very well. You were way behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign in your hand. What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before? I'm not anybody, me. The signs are what make me who I am now. I signed, therefore I am. So, you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago then?
I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Nuttlehoodle.
Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot. Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there.
Oh dear, you made him hide behind a sign.
Life is full of surprises.
I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand.
So then, you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right?
And I was. Kicked the door open like a professional, I did. And I yelled out, "What's going on here?"
One of these claims all he heard was a man's scream though. And it was dark inside the room.
Oh, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall.
Really?
Yeah, well, the cellar collapsed on the floor. Just between us, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside.
I see. even though Lord Von Zeeks claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall.
Next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body.
He accused Baroque Von Zeeks.
That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave the Reaper a coward stare myself.
Excuse me.
Let me guess, he didn't. He screamed. Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich?
It's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am. Just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you want with me.
I think that maybe you just remembered something. Having heard Mr. Gossip's latest statement, I mean.
What I think is, we're all nothings really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're just street sellers.
There's enough out of you, Sandwich. Get your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich.
Ill cannibalism.
When you saw the Reaper, he fell clean over his backside.
That's it.
What a beggar, I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off on all fours. That's all I wanted to say.
Mr. Gossip, is this true?
The floor's dead slippery, that's why. Planted my head in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck!
A pool of blood?
But listen here, even when I was sprawled on the floor, I still kept the Reaper count on still. Don't you forget.
Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand?
I did, happens to the rest of us at times, doesn't it? So I was scared, so I slipped over. We can keep it just a secret just between us, can't we?
No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony.
If I must.
The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once.
Stick down and go run around so quickly you wiped on the floor.
You did not wipe it on the floor, you wiped it on the board. I know we're bluffing, but defense lawyer's prerogative.
Objection.
Yeah, baby. So you wiped the blood off your hand on the floor of the room? Are you quite sure about that, sir?
What else do you expect me to have done, eh? Does it really matter?
Objection.
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting? If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Sorgi. Sit down now. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? Let me finish, my guy! There was a handprint and blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board. Yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint of the distinctive colour of blood.
Ah, you did it right. That's my right hand. I know it anywhere.
Objection.
No! The witness very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. What if it was on the floor? Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant. No, Yeah, objection, objection! Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim and in an upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body. What if it was closer at the time? I don't know who moved it back though. Yeah.
I fell over when I came across the body. So I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room.
In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it you've formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel, regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by the board moving, right? Real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down. Good gracious, so it is! If the witness had put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upwards. What does that tell us? It tells one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor, as I previously suggested. Which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What?
Objection.
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who. Why do I have to spell it out for you? I don't know that yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can be very clear on one point. That would be the position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated? Next to the victim.
Take that!
This is the only possible location. Immediately adjacent to the doorway. If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body because it was obscured. Quick! If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view. The light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection.
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him, and somebody knocked it over. It's true, or in his precise words, just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
I don't know about calling it a scream. He was talking about me and no mistake. Cause it was me that kicked the door open.
If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would have happened if the door to the room was thrown open with force. Bonk. That can't. The door struck the notice board, knocking it over and making the victim's body visible. Good gracious! My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, Somebody must have righted the board and moved it. Who? Into the position where the police, myself and my colleagues saw it when investigating the room. Witness, what have you to say for yourself?
Ah! Me, my lord!
You and your fellows were there at the scene before anyone else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime.
You stop looking over your glasses at me. I get the message. I know anything about that there notice board. I just wipe my hand on it, that's all. Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some secretaries at the time.
I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life.
What's the reason of it? He's gonna face the screen's board.
I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshots. So, none of you can elaborate further. Anything new? Besides this. But like, it's what you see is what you get. So, none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see. We can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened.
That's right, yeah. It don't pay to expect too much.
It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think. Do you? Really? In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. Okay. In short, the only person who could have possibly committed this crime is Barak von Zeeks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. It's still quite blurry. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witness? It's my right, sir! Most certainly, my lord! Very well. Then you may proceed, counsel. Okay. Of course nobody knows nothing. What the heck does this mean? It must. Actually, yeah, I want to press this one.
Hold it!
It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon that you all heard the loud bang, wasn't it? Maybe the notice board fell over. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe I fell over. Maybe I didn't. But the rapist's fate is sealed either way, because that gunshot we all heard. So your fate's sealed too. My fate? That's right. The defense is fated to lose. Traitor! And the prosecution to win. Traitor! In other words, it all hinges on that single gunshot. So if we could just find some problems with that part of their story, it may be possible to change all our fates. Of course, none of that changes the fact that I heard what I heard, does it? Not much to go on. As you've pointed out, Mr. Noddlehoodle, there's no question that the notice board was moved, so somebody must have done it. But it did happen after the event, so maybe Cosimo is right and it's not relevant to the case. It does seem to have been deliberately positioned so as to hide the body from view. So I feel sure that there's some deeper significance to all this. I know what you mean. No doubt that there are more clues to be uncovered. You're on the right track, I can feel it. So follow your instincts. Alright then. Let's just press one on. So you admit that it was the board you wiped your bloody hand on?
Admit it? What's to admit? It's there as plain as day for all to see. Smashing print on my right hand.
Perhaps you wanted to hide the handprint, so you righted the notice board and pushed it to the corner, did you?
No, imagine the weight of that grey lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man?
Did you see anybody else moving the board?
I've got nerves of steel, so I can tell you that even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light outside either. My one lip was all quiver.
In other words, this witness is unable to give definite testimony on that point. Yes, so it would seem. Business. When you say you were doing business with them, you mean that you were selling them fireworks?
Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just round the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to move this, to blow their school to Kingdom Come. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to.
You have?
Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt. So I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see?
What a racket.
Of course. And sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life selling explosives.
Venus is a golful goddess indeed.
Well, telling bare-faced lies is my kind of thing, really. I'm never so good at it.
Is she quiet, maybe? Always something to say. Something wrong again, Mr. Sandwich. If I said it was, could I just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it? No. Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts. Huh? Let's say there was a great liar. And that great liar said, without batting an eye, telling bare-faced lies is my kind of thing. I'm never so good at it. But those words of Herbie's are a lie too. The truth. In which case, she's not a liar. It's a hellish paradox, that one. Don't you think? She just said she's good at lying. I don't think she means she always tells the... I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying. Are you?
What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keeping on like that. And I'll wrap your whole body in firecracks and set him off. That'll give you something to tremble about.
You have a startling, disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady. So, Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich? Really clutching at straws here. Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Can you elaborate, please, sir? Blabbermouth headed for the room where the gunshot seemed to come from. There was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him too. That's right. One liar over there. Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all? Liar, liar, pants on fire.
What did I tell you, eh?
I said I was good at telling bare-faced lies, didn't I? Yes, you mentioned it. Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it? Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch? So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief!
Well, now that you come to mention it, I suppose perhaps. I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah.
Either you clearly remember it or you don't. I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurious act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth.
Oh, yes, my lord, of course. Maybe I did sneak along behind gossip and have a little peep into the room where it all happened.
Hold it!
You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus?
Well, I suppose so. I really don't know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I take everything I say with a big pinch of salt.
Alright, but did you in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question?
Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying.
The truth, please!
Alright, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know.
Did you touch anything at the scene?
Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor.
The truth, please!
Alright, just a bit then. I had a look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I did give the place a once over. It was nothing to do with... Right, it was nothing to write home about.
Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but... You didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you?
Oh, please! I didn't want to touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had.
The truth, please!
Alright then, I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flipping thing. Sorry, flip the blasted thing.
You're telling us that you did move that board!
I think that did slip out, didn't it?
You got Papa! I don't believe it! The girl doesn't think! So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps? To sell?
Oh, please, I should be so lucky. Am I?
The truth! Now!
I might have found this old pocket watch underneath the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much if you...
So you, was it? You're the one who took it! Gina?
Young lady, may I remind you where you are?
Now watch there. I was a present to an inspector from a yard for me case he solved 10 years ago.
The professor case, no doubt.
The boss used to wind him up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub.
I see.
I swiped it off him once and he was blimey what he was upset. He gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did.
Possibly not the best thing to go diving for then.
It's not all that though. I took it to Jabez that night to see how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it. Said it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. Ah! I knew I should have left it.
Priorities, Gina. That watch must be submitted as evidence at once!
Oh please, just so long as you promise to give it back when you're done. No chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again.
That's enough! Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith! Now, children, watch your manners. Shit. Good lord! The glass appears to be broken. More than likely it shattered when the inspector was shot.
It doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh?
Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. At least you're still giving us our... Let's have a look at our new piece of evidence. The glass over the face really is badly cracked. Look. What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact.
But kindly remember, he's a great detective, Mr. Nuttleholder, not an old job man.
There's a tiny little stub sticking out from this small hole here, look. I suppose there must have been a little knob or something on that for setting the time. In that case, seeing as we know the inspector took such good care of his watch, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it? Yes, of course. Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe? Ooh. Watch is... that's awfully familiar looking. There's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see? Oh, yes, that's probably the winder used to wind up the mechanism. It looks a little unusual, don't you think?
Yes, you need just the right key to wind it, I imagine.
Why do I feel as though I've seen something like that? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole. It would be wonderful if we had that key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found. Shall we revisit that little thing? Alright then. Twist. Oh no. I'm rude. Shoot. I think my controller just died. Hold on, give me a moment. This is Meanwhile, just have a look at this head. Okay, anyway. The helmet of this charming policeman appears to be a little worse for wear. I'm pretty sure this is the same. Alright. Alright. See if we can get anything new from this. Mr. Soto, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose. Oh, it works. I knew it. A perfect fit. And look! The inspector's watch has started going again. So it's obviously not just been wound up, that's all. What is it, Mr. Soto? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications. I don't know what. Ooh, she's deep in thought now. Perhaps I'd better start thinking deeply too. It wasn't broken. He didn't get an opportunity to wind it at some point, perhaps. Maybe we're trying to say that he didn't necessarily die at that particular time. He probably died earlier. It might be a bit soon, but I think that's what they mean by profound implication. Ooh! I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh, at the scene, we found this key to the wind of the inspector's pocket watch. A key. And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. Oh, we got it! Order! But counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock.
Yeah, which is just what we heard that gunshot.
It is exactly the hour. The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock. Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. Okay, but the autopsy report does not have a time of death. Maybe that means something. So that's obviously when this crime was committed. No, that doesn't hold. Hey, if you were so sure that he died at the said time, like, why even have the autopsy? Okay, never mind, I'm going on a rant. That doesn't hold! Why not? All the style! Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago.
The boss used to wind it up every evening, without fail, when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did.
The victim was in habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. I mean, this is probably not the strongest case, but alright. If that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day. In summary, the evening before the day of the incident when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You got me. What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Order! Counsel, that is the most extraordinary claim!
Objection.
Extraordinary isn't the word, it's absurd! You claim he was already dead the night before! Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? Well, on that subject, there is something rather surprising. It's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right.
Wait a minute. You're forgetting that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in.
What do you mean?
Like I said, I ran my hand in the dirty great puddle of blood.
Yes. So the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh. Ah, but remember what Sif said last time. We can't prove if it's human.
He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection.
I mean, yeah, she lied about a bunch of stuff, but I'm pretty sure she can't lie about that. But that blood could be explained any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body. Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. Your favourite. Oh my god, I really should be joking about that. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Objection.
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock. That's beyond quick. Not. Is it though? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all.
Oh, please, what are you trying to say? Us Lord know what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that there room. Now you listen to me. A street seller's ears are his livelihood.
Still have that, do you? Oh, I don't doubt your ears, sir. But all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise.
Eh?
Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with a Venus firecracker. Something like this. The culprit could have set one of these to fake a gunshot.
Good gracious! The very fireworks that were sold by the witness! Now hold on a minute, are you saying I did it?
Someone probably bought it off you.
My pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway, see?
Not 100 of them together. The Venus special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. Wait, we still have... Okay. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot.
Ah!
You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene. I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for all these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection.
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Baroque von Zieks.
One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? That's why people like him.
I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection.
Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learnt of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb. Good heavens! A bomb! Yes, not an anti-gravity device. Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whenever you like. Well, whatever you like, whenever you like. There we go. Mr. Nuddlehuddle, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. No, wait! It's the whenever you like part that's important. A time device. Yes, exactly! A time device! Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim would have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to create a gunshot? Here's the armband. No. Oh yeah, you want it back, dude? Anyway, probably not these pieces of paper. Don't know why we have her. I mean, familiar woman, but she hasn't come up yet. It's cold, so it wasn't used. Or according to Von Zieks, but I'm sure he's not lying, but, you know, court's not gonna hear that. Nah. Now, why do you think that one candle is longer than the others? Let's find out.
Take that!
As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by a bullet, which presumably passed through the victim. Presumably. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible. Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are. Goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range. A matter of centimeters from the gun. Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. You're suggesting it came from the fireworks. How can that be, eh? The fact that there's such a visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and firecrackers were joined together. The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. And then, after the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud and that is how these three witnesses came to believe they heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Oh, what a plot! And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe. The previous day, even. That's all yours! All of us are here saw the victim go into the building, remember? You just saw someone with red hair. I couldn't forget the same colored hair even if I wanted to. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. consider this. Obviously, anybody can wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely wearing the red hairpiece. Someone else? Do you mean to say? It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's real killer. Oh, very impressive, Yunosuke. Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? What are you trying to get at, mate? I also noted the lack of a time of death in this report. A stark omission. And as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Order! Prosecutor Sogi! What on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today. So we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just conjecture. But while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Certainly, I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing, and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the yard! However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing. Wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. I agree, surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive? Oh yeah, the red-headed... because the... Okay, but... Okay, yeah, the red-headed league, I suppose. I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not! Such a bright-coloured hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, it's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in the crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League! So, you'd already worked it out. It's not rocket science, my guy. What on earth is all this about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, counsel? They've been targeting red-headed men across all London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord! The defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once! 2 redheads! Oh yeah, we're exploring the movements of Gregson now. Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece. Calling out loud. So it's very likely that it had direct contact with these criminals. It's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. It's another possible line of inquiry for us, at least. The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these two Red-Headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Sogi. At once, my lord. Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned.